Good morning, all. This is Steve from the Worldwide Rag 2 Amateur Radio Net, Kilo Juliet 4 Zulu Oscar Yankee. It's 3 minutes to the hour. I'm sorry I'm a couple minutes late, but do we have any short timers that need to check in right away? Any short timers, please come on now. Over.
K3 BMS in and out.
It was K3 BMS. I thought, please come back more slowly with your call sign. First name and city, please. Over.
Seven Martin Romeo. Seven Martin Romeo Delta.
Last station, you were breaking up and very faint. Your original call was 59. So please try again. Over. Seem to have lost that station. I have 1 minute to the hour. Please stand by. We'll be going live in 1 minute. Over. CQ, CQ, CQ. Welcome to today's session of the Worldwide Rag 2 Amateur Radio Net. We're here to chew the rag with our radio friends, share information, and provide technical assistance if we are able to. And this morning, we're also here. This is the Worldwide Rag 2 Olympics Radio Sunday. We meet every Sunday at 11 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time or 1600 Greenwich Mean or Universal Coordinated Time. There are very many bridges, notes, and methods in place for access. If you join our Facebook page, you can find the details. Any and all amateur radio operators, licensed amateur radio operators, are encouraged to join in. Please wait till you're recognized before passing your traffic. My name is Steve of Kilo Juliet 4 Zulu Oscar Yankee. I'm located in Central Texas, about 25 minutes north of the city of Austin. Please give your call sign slowly, use standard ITU phonetics. We also ask for your first name and city. And very important, because of all the relays that need to reset between calls, try to leave at least 3 seconds between overs so we don't lose your first couple words. To begin now, is there any emergency or priority traffic? Emergency or priority traffic, please come now. Over. This is KJ4ZOY, nothing heard for emergency or priority. I'm not sure what we would do in emergencies, but do our best to facilitate communications. Now, with regard to regular check-ins, anybody waiting to check in, we look forward to talking with you. Please come now. Over.
Kilo, Charlie, 1, Sierra, November, Oscar, all in Brandon.
Victor Alpha 3, Kilo Yankee. So Victor like Alpha 3, Kilo Yankee in Ontario.
Whiskey 1, Alpha Delta, Whiskey 1, Alpha Delta, Frank, Northern Nevada, U.S. Good day.
Thank you all. I'm recognizing 3 check-ins. That means the 4 best-looking guys in the Worldwide RAG2 Amateur Radio Net are, at least 4 of us are online, KC1SNO, VA3KKY, and W1AD. Taking everybody in order, Paul, Brandon Bay, Vermont. Good morning. Are you watching the Olympics? What do you think about it? And parenthetically, any radio questions we might be able to work on. Over.
Good morning, Steve. Well, I've watched the Little Olympics. Being a bicyclist, I watched the men's time trial and the men's road race, which was actually won by the same individual for the first time in history. And that was pretty exciting. I have watched a little bit of swimming, and that's about it. But it is kind of a spectacular time, I will admit. They seem to have done it pretty well. That's my take on it anyway. Back to you.
Sorry to be so long. My computer decided it wanted to argue with me. Paul, did you see the opening ceremony? Over.
No, Steve, I didn't see the opening ceremony. I guess it was down the Seine River, I guess, on some barges, but unfortunately it was raining out, so I don't know. And I guess there was some stage acts and stuff like that, but I didn't see it, so I can't really comment on it. So I have no idea what it was like. Back to you.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, but I thought it was pretty spectacular. And Celine Dion was one of the final acts, who's back after having some real voice problems. We are all in a voice thing right here, but I have to admit she sounds better than any of us. Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Bicycle road races are over my head, but I grew up in a city, and you couldn't get very far till you came crashing to the end of the block. It's good to hear from you this morning. Any final traffic before I move on? Over.
Steve. Steve, I'd just like to say 73 to all out there, and looking forward to another reasonably good day up here, if I can get a ride in between the rain showers. And but it's been a wonderful summer, and at my age, any day is a good day. So 73 all, and I'll be clear.
I agree. Being also in my golden years, as they call them, any day you wake up is a good day. Here in the middle of Texas, and it's not my fault that I live here. I needed the job, and that's why we came. It seems that the ragweed has bloomed, and my upper respiratory system has figured it out. But I will not whine and complain because nobody cares anyway. I take my antihistamines. VA3 KKY, Kevin, Toronto, this is KJ4ZOY. Please come back with your check-in. Over.
Yeah, and I also thought about your fleeting question, even though you asked under your breath, so it wasn't really meant as a question. But I'm just trying to think, probably in an emergency, like I'm just trying to think. Usually a lot of emergencies that I hear, people just want phone messages relayed. But then I'm trying to think, right? Okay, take this scenario. So I'd have to imagine that I have no phone to come on and ask for someone to relay a phone message, but then I might need the phone to get on and even do that because that's where I have a few ham apps stashed away. So that's an interesting question for me to come out and, let's say, get on VoIP and say, I need you guys to relay a phone message. But a lot of times for emergency stuff, that's what I hear usually. I guess the other obvious things is relinquish the frequency and let it pass, right? So unless you plan to just blast right over them and jam right over them, I guess that's what you would do. But yeah, so that was an interesting thing as far as what would you do in an emergency, or what would you do to facilitate emergency? Because I've controlled nets before, and no emergencies have come out that I can even say that I have anything to go on. So yeah, I guess there's a first time for everything, and that's it. There's a first time for everything. Okay, so I hope everybody has a good Sunday. I'll say that I appreciated the thought, even though I know you weren't trying to do that. But I do pay attention. I did hear you. So I'll turn it back to you. I'll be listening out. So this is VA3KKY, and great Sunday. Oh, and happy civic holiday for the Canadians, because tomorrow is a holiday Monday, a government holiday, so people don't have to go to work, and there's really nothing to do because everything's closed, banks and everything, and postage too. Okay, so back to you. VA3KKY is listening.
Kevin, if there's nothing to do, maybe you're supposed to rest. I don't know. Interesting comment about emergencies. The emergency nets I know of are very formal, like this country amateur radio emergency services are sort of like clubs, but they're keyed into the various county emergency services and providing local information nets, assuming other communication methods were down. But, there's that commercial, I've fallen and I can't get up. And now they have a button you can push that I guess communicates over cell phone. But what would we do? And we're not in a communication net. I'm sitting in my radio shack, which is a corner of my bedroom with HF and VHF radios, and supposedly my VHF handheld can, through a repeater, plug into landline telephones. I've never tried it. I suppose HF can do it too. I know once upon a time, hams could forward international telephone conversations. Maybe we should look into it and see if there's anything we can do to forward a call or communicate on somebody's behalf to emergency services local to them. Having said that, I'll look into it this week and be back around or put something in the on our Facebook page. But at this point in time, I'm not sure what I do. And since I get to be net control every third week, maybe I ought to find out. So at any rate, thank you for bringing that up, Kevin. I guess we better move on. W1AD, Frank, Minden, Nevada. Good morning, Frank. What's going on? Over.
Well, good day to you, Steve, and to everyone else listening on the net. And happy day to you. Happy Sunday. And happy Civic Day tomorrow for the folks up in Canada. Yeah, emergency communication is very complex because there's so many different parts to the moving parts to the system, and the biggest fear that I think everybody has nowadays is the loss of the internet, because everything really is based on internet traffic. Even your home telephones and that. You know, the day of copper wire running to a central office is gone. Most people don't have landlines, and if they do, it's probably through another provider that uses perhaps even the cable TV or something like that. But I can recall one time back when we were living in Vermont, and maybe 20 years ago or more, we got a call from the Department of Emergency Management, whatever they called it back then. And there was a town about 15 miles to my west that had lost their central office, telephone central office. Let me roll it. And the central office was down because they had some bad storms, and the roof had either caved in but caused flooding, and the whole central office was offline. That meant that there was no 911 service in that town, and the fire department just didn't know what to do. So we brought a few people out and talked to the fire chief and set up a net. We put somebody at the fire station. We put somebody at a nursing home because I asked. They said, "Where do you get most of your rescue calls?" "Always from the nursing home." I said, "We'll put somebody right there." And then I said, "Where else? What's a common spot in town?" They said, "Well, everybody would go to the general store." So we put somebody at the general store, and that seemed to work. We tried. This was interesting. We asked the cable company to scroll a banner across the bottom. They refused. So then we went up the chain through the state of Vermont Emergency Management, and they basically told the cable company to do this or we're going to give you trouble. So they did it. So, I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts. That was just a very years ago. Today it would be a little different, I believe. Back to net control, W1AD.
Frank, I agree. This is KJ4ZOY. Frank, I agree. Things are so complicated and so apparently sophisticated. If we were to have a electronic pulse incident or an actor of some kind, be it a nation state or a group acting adversely, were to knock out some of the internet. HF radio is sort of like two tin cans. They're not made of tin. Tin cans and a string. What you put together 20 years ago sounds like the various Aries group that are much more now today presently organized. I don't know too much about races, but it's great that you did that. I'll look into it some more to see what we would actually do, and maybe I'll talk to the guy. I'm not much of a participator anymore. The younger guys do that, but the fellow who's the emergency coordinator for my local county Aries group, and see if there's a comment there. And if I find out anything noteworthy, I'll come back with it. Frank, you watch the Olympics? Over.
WA3IGU with a comment.
highlights on the news. It's just the way the timing is here out on the West Coast and that. Yeah, and as far as emergencies, I mean, what I would recommend anybody do is, first of all, check your local repeaters to see if they're still operating. Many of them have at least a 2 or 3 day backup power, or at least 24-hour backup power. If not, the national calling frequency, 14652 in the U.S., wherever it is elsewhere, I don't know, but start a net and see what you can do, and then approach local law enforcement and emergency services today are pretty removed. They like to run their own show. But this is interesting. This is a volunteer fire department that just needed help, and they called the state. The state filtered down to our local. It was RACES. A lot of states are moving to combined ARIES RACES, not having the what can I say, following the rules that used to be in place for the RACES, which were outlined in the part. What is it? Part 90. I can't remember now. 97. So all sorts of different things that you can do, but basically knowing who your players are ahead of time is really important. Back to net control from WWARG.
Frank, thank you. Yeah, that makes a great deal of sense. And of course, we all need to use the National Incident Management System, which you take the classes in online. Thanks for your comments. I'll pursue it a little bit more. There was a station called in with a comment. I wrote it down partially. It was a WA1 GCU or something close to that. Please come back with your comment. Over.
This is WA3IGU, Whiskey Alpha 3 in the uniform, Dennis here in Lancaster, Virginia. Just sort of at the tail end of your conversation, I just wanted to say that there are traffic nets still available, still being conducted through a radiogram device for media, both CW and voice, I guess HF and VHF, and mostly on HF. And I think there's still a spinoff from the nets that I remember back in the 50s and 60s, where people actually did pass traffic, which not necessarily emergency, but mostly of that type nature where, for example, a tornado came through your town and you lost power and you wanted to get message to your mother who lived across the United States that you're okay. Ham radios could handle that type of traffic and pass that along and get the message to the recipient. And they still do that. So if you Google traffic nets, you'll find some. Over to you.
Thanks. This is KJ4ZOY, back to WA3IGU. Thanks very much. Yes, there are. I participate in 1 or 2 of the local traffic nets. What it appears to me, though, when somebody sends out a radiogram, and remember the American Radio Relay League was originally a message passing service. But there is a formal process to do that. You can look it up. There's a format for these messages, and they go through and wind up locally, and whoever's closest in a morning net will take a message and take it the last mile. Well, what that most of the time means is you telephone the people and tell them they've got a message, because not everybody is on ham or I'm sorry, I'm having a senior moment about the message forwarding software that'll broadcast through the ham channels, but it seems that would take a long time, but yes, I remember it. Coming back, last thing, WS3IGU, what's your first name and what city are you in? It's sort of fun to keep track of who we're talking to and where they are. Over. Well, WA3IGU seems to have disappeared. Hopefully he's on QRZ and I'll look him up for the log. Frank, did you have any further comments? Are you an Olympic buff? Sorry, take so much time in the middle, but let me come back to you. Do you watch any of the Olympics? Over.
Hang on there. If you're still there, come back. This is WA3IG. I don't know if I lost you or not. I was replying to your message or your question.
W1AD. I don't have any further comments. Steve will let you continue with the net. 7-3 W1AD.
Frank, thank you. WA3IGU. I'm sorry I didn't hear your response. Probably the connections I have. Would you mind coming back, please, with your first name and city so we can congratulate ourselves on how far away we're talking to people. Over.
Pennsylvania. The name is Dennis, and actually I'm using my iPhone with an app called Repeater Phone through a node, but I have discovered this group on my Peanut app on my laptop, and it seems like a nice talk group to check into from time to time. So I will monitor, and I'll let you guys go. Just it sounded like you had a nice discussion. I'll say 73s and monitor and do a couple things here, but nice making everybody's acquaintance. Again, it's Dennis, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Over to net control, and I'll be monitoring.
Dennis, thank you. What beautiful farmland that is. And of course, a piece of shoe fly pie is never bad. Thanks for joining us. If you look at the Worldwide Rag 2 Amateur Radio Net Facebook page and go into the files, you will find any number of ways you can connect. I'm personally on Echolink right now. Peanut hooks up some more. And there is a new Discord app that runs through, and there's I guess an associated group. I logged on to it. It's almost like a chat room, and I don't know too much more about it right now, or whether or not it's, officially sanctioned by the three guys that started this. I'm a Johnny come lately in terms of net control. At any rate, it is now 25 minutes after the hour. I'd like to move on. So, additional check-ins for the Worldwide Rag 2 Amateur Radio Net. This is KJ4ZOI, and remember to leave 3-4 seconds after my over to let the relays reset so we don't cut off your first words. More general check-ins, please. Say good morning and come now. Over.
Whiskey 1, Sierra Bravo Whiskey.
Kilo 3.
Whiskey 3.
Sierra Kilo 3. Whiskey Sierra
10. Eastern PA. There.
Ladies and gentlemen, I heard Scott and Mary, but there was a third station in there that was doubling with Mary. Would you come back, please, so I can log in your call sign? Over.
Kilo 3. Whiskey Sierra. Kilowatt 3. Whiskey Sierra.
Great, got it. K3 Whiskey Sierra. Let me get to everybody in order. W1SBW. Scott, good morning. What you doing? You watching the Olympics or, practicing summertime skiing in Vermont? Over.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning to everybody else on the net. Thank everybody for checking and thank you for doing the job that you usually do every third week. A great job. I am mobile, so I'm not going to hold too long.
Scott, I got the beginning, but you must be mobile. A lot of it was broken up, at least within my reception. I'm sorry. You want to take one more try if you have anything you need to communicate, and maybe you'll get around one of the hills and it'll work better. Over.
I'm good for now, Steve. I'm going to drop out because I'm going to lose you again, and it'll probably be for an extended period. So, thanks for doing that. Thanks for everybody that's checking in, and we'll talk to you all next week. WWARG to be clear.
Scott, thank you. Have a great week. Let's move on. K3WS, Tom in Daleville, Virginia. Tom, hey, what's shaking? You watch the Olympics? Got anything to say about radio? Over.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. No, I have not been watching the Olympics. I've been very busy with work, unfortunately. And as far as emergency communications, I can tell you in the Johnstown, Pennsylvania area, and a lot of the East Coast, in fact, the wide area network repeater system meets every Sunday night at 9 o'clock. Test all the linked repeaters, and then after that, a bunch of guys go off and do a bunch of simplex testing and make sure the local simplex nets are going. And the areas in ACS in Cambria County, Pennsylvania, is pretty strong. And there's been things that have happened in the past that amateur radio has provided services for, like the Johnstown flood, the 9/11 incident in Shanksville. Amateur radio was there providing services. And as recent as this weekend, they were providing services for one of the triathlons that go in Blair County. So up in that part of Pennsylvania, they got it pretty well still active and rolling for a while. And I was a paramount part of it several years ago because I was the EC for Aries for quite a few years. But being that I'm not up there that much anymore, I had to relinquish that. But emergency services is a fun endeavor. It's also political, like another gentleman said. There's a lot of counties and places that really just don't need us anymore, they think. But they find out when their equipment doesn't work that we're there doing stuff for them, and that's when we shine. It's a very interesting situation. Well, I am mobile. I am running around mobile near Roanoke, Virginia. I don't want to time out the repeater. Have a great net. This will be my over or be my final, and I will listen as long as I can. But doing great so far, and very interesting conversation. Back to net control from Kilo 3, Whiskey Sierra. Everybody have a great upcoming week.
Kilo 3, Whiskey Sierra. This is KJ4ZOY. So you came from Johnstown after the flood and running up the inclined plane. My family lived in Blair County for about 40 years in Hollidaysburg, sometimes known as suburban Altoona. So I know exactly what you were talking about. It's a neat part of the world. In the county where I live, which is one immediately north of Austin, the emergency services is integrated into county government with the liaison between our REC, our emergency coordinator, and what they call the ESOC, the Emergency Services Operations Center. And when there is, at this point in time, bad weather coming because spring and fall when the fronts come roaring through from the north, get across the flat ground, they get pretty impressive. It is a very formal setup, and in fact, and I don't know what would happen if the internet would fail, but there is a chat room where representatives of the local radio and TV stations sit to get weather information from each other. And somebody from the ARIES group participates in the chat room. And when we have locational information, they pass it on through the chat room. And so when one of the TV stations tells you exactly where a tornado touched down or lightning struck a tree and virtually have the address, it comes out of the ARIES group. So it is well put together. Again, if we were to lose internet or power, I guess we'd be back to the dark ages, but I'm not sure what we did past that. Tom, do you have any? I know you're mobile. If you still have us in reception, you have any further comments? And I'm sorry you have to work too much to not watch the Olympics. There's been some amazing stuff. I don't understand how human beings can pull those things off physically, but I guess they're the best in the world. Anyway, final comments, Tom, if any. Over.
I know, pretty good here. Yeah, I just got to work to make the money. But yeah, that's very interesting. When I was involved as the EC, I was definitely integrated with the local EOC, and we had actually an amateur radio room in the EOC. I'm pretty sure they're still maintaining that. I just haven't been there for a while. But like I said, Sunday night, 9 o'clock, the wide area network repeater system, we practice every Sunday. And there's backup net controls. There's times where net control doesn't show up for whatever reason. There's a backup net control that automatically picks up the net and goes on. So it tests all those machines. At normal operation, if you keep one microphone, you're keying up about 30 to 40 repeaters. So it's a pretty nice system. All right, back to you. Enjoy the rest of the net. I'll listen as long as I can. Have a great day, everyone. Kilo 3, Whiskey Sierra.
Tom, thank you. Yeah, my local county runs a training session Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time, but it is not a wide area network. It's just people. The county is only so big, and there are a couple of repeaters, but one main station, and I think some of it depends on how many watts somebody can broadcast at. For my VHF capability right now, I'm only at 5. Well, thanks for checking in. Get to talk with you. Have a great week. We better go to KB3 VPK. Mary, Eastern Pennsylvania. How you doing, girl? What's up? Over.
Well, before I answer any questions, Steve, I got a question for you. Have you ever gone into the settings of your Echo Link and checked the audio level? I think you said you were using Echo Link. You could use a little bit more audio compared to everybody else. It's been bugging me for a while now. So I think if you just change over to the settings screen, and there's like some bars where you can pump up the volume. Can you check that? Back to you, Steve, KB3VP.
Mary, thank you. That's happened before. I'll find it really quickly while if you would hold forth for about a minute, I'll try and do that and try not to screw up and lose the whole thing. I don't know why it reverts, but I'll see if I can raise my microphone amplification. In the meantime, any comments about emergency communication? Do you watch the Olympics? Are you ready to try the balance beam, uh, parallel bars? They scare me. See what you can do while I'm adjusting my microphone. That's KJ4ZOY back to KB3VPR.
Okay, Steve, I can talk for a while about those subjects. I do listen to the Wide Area Network Races Net on Sunday nights off and on, so I'm familiar with that one. And I don't know how it would work if the internet went down, because they're all interlinked by the All-Star Network. So what is the backup if the internet goes down for all these All-Star networks is a question too. As far as emergency communications, we have to go back to over the air. In the Olympics, ping pong, table tennis, love it. I love that. I used to play table tennis as a kid. So much fun. Believe it or not, pretty good exercise. I watch that, and I'm watching the track and field. And our local guy, the shot putter in track and field from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, which is only a hop, skip, and a jump from where I live. So he won a silver medal, Kovacs. It was really good. But during that competition, as well as the triathlon competition where it was raining, I thought it was very unfair to continue competition. Like even NASCAR stops. When the roads get wet or track gets wet, whatever, they blow it dry. These poor people on those bicycles, it was very unfair. They were getting injured, falling off the bikes, these skinny tires. Like they should be getting some wet weather tires put on those cases. Let me take a break. But I like that, and I like the sprint races in track and field, 100 meters, and swimming. Watch the swimming. I used to be a swimmer, have trophies in swimming, so I kind of watch that. I wanted to see more of the boxing, but I can't find it. I made all these recordings on these off channels on Dish Network covering the Olympics, USA, and there's a couple other channels on Dish Network covering it besides the prime time. So, I have them all stored, and I'm really into watching the competition. So I try to check it all out when I get time after work and so forth. So I do like watching it. And hopefully you found your settings now. Back to you, Steve, KB3VP.
Mary, thank you. I hope this is better. I tried to turn the microphone up. It looks like the bar I've got running across the bottom of the screen is working better. I was watching the shot put. You take a look at these guys. Imagine throwing a 16-pound bowling ball, maybe just a little smaller, about 75 feet. The physical capabilities, people, are just astonishing. I think I enjoy most watching the women's gymnastics because not only does it take strength, but grace and coordination. And let the world judge about how strong I am, but the grace and coordination, I'm afraid I don't quite measure up as well as I would love to. But glad you're enjoying it. I agree with you. A lot of our emergency services depend on internet communications, and I don't know. It's, I am hoping that the Department of Defense which I know has to have a backup. But there are probably, I'm hoping there are a lot of things we don't know about and don't need to tell us. At any rate, thanks for checking in. I appreciate it. What do you think about my volume? Could you hear any better? Over.
Yes, thank you. Now you're back up there with everybody else. So, I don't know, make sure it saves or whatever. Hopefully it stays that way for you. I'll listen out to the rest of the net. KB3VPK clear.
Mary, thank you. I keep a roster of who we talk to, and it's just fun to look at how far across at least the daylight part of the planet we get. And on the very top of it, because I update it every week, it says check my sound volume now. I appreciate it. Thank you for telling me about it. Let's see, it is 43 minutes after the hour. Still looking for check-ins for the Worldwide Rag 2 Amateur Radio Net. Anybody waiting to check in, please come now. Over.
This is Whiskey Delta 1 Alpha Juliet Mike, Adam in Rutland City, Vermont. WD1 AJM. Kilo Charlie 1, Kilo Uniform Tango. Mike from Shrewsbury, Vermont.
Thanks, guys. Well, the Vermont contingent comes back, W1AJM and KC1KUT. This is KJ4ZOY, WD1AJM, Adam in Rutland City, Vermont. Adam, good to hear from you. We're discussing the Olympics, we're discussing emergency communication, and anything else you'd like to bring up. So come on back with your check-in. Over.
Good morning to everybody on the net from WD1AJM. Nice, kind of foggy, rainy day here in Rutland City, Vermont. I'm in the kitchen cooking bacon and eggs. Been watching a little bit of the Olympics, and I've been playing a little bit around with FanDuel, but I can't predict who's going to win. The most interesting thing I saw was the shooting competition where the gentleman from Turkey just walked up and won silver. So, but nice day here in Vermont. Back to you. This is WD1 AJM.
Great, Adam. Did you happen to see any of the archery? I watched these people with these high-tech bows, shooting arrows hundreds of feet into a bullseye. It was sort of like Robin Hood at the Sheriff of Nottingham's Spring Festival. These people's capabilities are amazing. They are truly the very best. Did you happen to catch any of that? I was watching some of the skeet, and again, here's a wall, and all of a sudden this thing shows up over the wall, and the guy's got to turn and fire at it. My excuse for why my eye-hand coordination isn't even, 30% of that is because I'm old, but that's the best excuse I can come up with. Did you manage to see any of that? Over.
WG1AJM. No, I didn't have the pleasure of seeing that, unfortunately. But that sounds really, really cool. That's all that's going on here. Back to you from WG1AJM.
Adam, thank you. Have a great week. Hope everybody is well at your house. Moving on, KC1KUT, Mike in Shrewsbury, Vermont. Mike, good morning. What's up? Over.
This is KC1KUT, Mike from Shrewsbury, Vermont, and thank you for putting the net on. And I'm going to do an in and out today because I have to get moving. I'm in the process of working on getting a coyote who got one of our geese, two of our chickens. So it looks like another hat's going to be along the way if I could team up with him. So with that, I'm going to jump out and wishing everybody on the net has a great week. And I'll try and catch you next week. I may take my radio portable and be out on Glen Lake fishing, and I'll use my satellite antenna and see if I can join it. I've been fishing quite a bit. So with that, I'm going to bug out, and thank you again for putting the net on. C1 KUT, Kilo Charlie 1, Kilo Uniform Tango.
KJ4ZOY, back to KC1KUT. Glad to hear you're going fishing. If you have good luck, I don't know, 10, 15 or your favorite radio friends will all show up for Vermont. It's only 1,700 or 1,800 miles from me, so, I can zip up anytime I want, and we'll be ready for the fish fry. Have a great time. Scott will be in the chair, another Vermont fella. And I'm sure he would love to discuss fishing, particularly if you're doing well. But I suppose you'll have to be quiet and not scare the fish. Thanks for your check-in. Have a great week. This is the Worldwide RAG2 Amateur Radio Net. It's 49 minutes after the hour on Sunday, August 4th. What year is it? 2024. Down here in the hot part of the U.S., school's going to be starting in another couple of weeks as the days get short enough to moderate the temperature a little bit. But we just keep going back and forth. So we're looking for more check-ins. Anybody waiting to check in, please? We'd love to talk with you. Please come now. Over.
Juliet Lima Delta.
Mike 0, Oscar, Mike Tango, M0OMT.
Kilo Charlie 4 Zulu Echo X-Ray KC4ZEX in Kentucky.
Great, guys. I have 3 check-ins. Let me take them one at a time. First, we have the animated voice of upstate New York, star of stage, screen, and a whole lot of stuff. Where it gets really cold in the wintertime, John, it's you. Over.
Righty, well, fine business there, Steve. Thank you very much for taking my check-in here in Rochester, New York, southern tip of Lake Ontario, 65 miles east of Buffalo, New York. And, of course, a lot of people say I have a great face for radio. Hi, hi. Just sitting back, doing some work for the Raspberry Pi Net today at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Rockham Echolink Conference. Node number 531091 and on All-Star nodes 2585, 47918, 47620, and, of course, 531310. And we're going to have a lot of great things to talk about. Good topic. Let's see, what else? I've been watching the, I think the women's gymnastics is just beyond, I mean, no words that I could say can further any, I mean, they're just amazing. The girls are pulled together, and, Simon Biles, she is certainly the centerpiece of that team. And, the United States gymnastics has dominated Olympics for a while. I know that she I think she's got 7 gold medals already. Just as those before her and those after her, their strengths will certainly exceed those that we have as normal Joe wrote. That's why there's a lot of people that watch it, because, how many folks out there can actually do what they do and coordinate it and hand and eye? And, I was just watching the unparalleled bars, and I saw 3 people crash and face splash all over the floor. It happens, they get back up and they continue. So I love that type of situation. Not where they fall, but they continue on, and that shows the the intestinal fortitude. What else we got going on? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We got the Rochester International Air Show. I worked that yesterday. Man, the planes are just, woo. They had this, I think, a C4 plane that was there, and they had walkthroughs, and I had the ability to walk. All I could say is, it's just amazing how much weight these engines are able to carry this weight in the air with, the ease. So I've been playing radio, got some POTA stations, worked a few long distance DX stations. So, Steve, I think this is where I'd say, and now the rest of the story. This is W2JLD.
Great voice. Well, John, I'm glad you're still in touch with your internal Paul Harvey. I'll bet half the people on this net are old enough to know who he is. My beautiful wife, Elizabeth, who just walked by, said, "What a great voice you have."
And that is the rest of the story.
Right. And I agree. I've been also told I have a perfect face for radio. I was probably in the best physical shape of my life when I was 18 years old, which was more than 60 years ago. And I will say, if I even attempted the easiest maneuver those young women tried, I would have been in traction for the rest of my life. And you just know better. I am just awestruck. Great to hear from you. I will say I now have a wire antenna, so I have a 9-to-1 Balun, a couple of chokes, 100 watts in a wire. And I'm having to relearn retuning my HF, because in addition to a whole lot more reception, I also, of course, am picking up a whole lot more noise. So maybe in a couple of months, when it gets dark and the bands are a little bit better, I'll see if I can call Rochester one evening. I'll talk to you offline before then. Any further comments, John, before we move on? Over.
Juliet, Lima Delta, yes, Paul Harvey. My father would listen to WHAM radio here in Rochester, New York, 50,000 watts, and he would listen to Paul Harvey during breakfast, and we would listen to Paul Harvey anecdotes and stories and his, little tidbits and, little philosophies, and always at the end, I remember to this day, and now, the rest of the story. This is W2JLD, back to net control.
John, thank you. Yeah, I listened to him by myself. I don't know where my dad was at the time. He might have been at work. I'm not sure. But I know who you mean. And he was animated. And, of course, page 2 were the advertisers that paid for his broadcast. This is KJ4ZOY, Steve for the Worldwide Rag 2 Amateur Radio Net, 56 minutes after the hour. Next up, M0OMT, Stuart, the technical wizard who makes all this work. Good to hear from you this afternoon on the east coast of England. Please come forward with your traffic. Over, and have you watched the Olympics? Over.
Yeah, Mike Zero Oscar, Mike Tango. Good afternoon from the UK. Good morning, guys, stateside and ladies. Nice to see you all checking in. I haven't been watching the Olympics. It's on during the day for me, and I'm driving, so gonna only catch the highlights. But I mean, we don't do too bad in the Olympics. I think the last time it came around, we had loads of gold. And not too far from us. They were all, I think 90% of the athletes were all from Yorkshire, which is a county inside of the UK. You've got different counties. Like you've got Texas and New York and things. We've got different counties. So Yorkshire's a big county, and about 90% of them were all medal takers the last time. I haven't really watched it this time, but I will try and get my head around it. I did see that American gymnast girl on the horse. She's doing amazing, absolutely amazing. I caught that in the highlights. But no, life's been going full speed ahead again. It's Ryan's birthday this week, coming up on Wednesday. He'll be 19. So he's not going to be a teenager much longer, and Charlene's mum's not been well, so it's just all been up in the air, Steve, but I'm still here to tell the tale. KJ4ZOYM0OMT.
Thanks, Stuart. Yeah, life has a way of getting complicated. A 19-year-old, huh? You know, one of the nicest feelings I had was when my firstborn, who was a boy, saw him get dressed. At that point in time, put on a tie and take public transportation to his first job. And I always thought that was a good milestone because then he became self-sufficient. I hope everybody's restored to health. I will say, now, York, I can't remember whether were those white roses or red roses. I don't remember. Britain was the world at one point in time, and the sophistication and the the meanest guys out on the ocean. But I do remember back. I'm old enough to remember that it was a guy from England who was first to run a mile less than 4 minutes, and a different guy from England who was a Sherpa guide was the first to climb Mount Everest. So you guys do pretty well. I hope you have a great week. Any final comments before I move on? Over.
Yeah, MZOMT. No, just a bit of light-hearted humour. Maybe we should stick a McDonald's on the top of Mount Everest and see how many other fatties are willing to run up the hill and get some. But no, nothing else from me, Steve. I think you've got a couple more to check in after me. Have a great weekend, everybody. We're not just here on a weekend either. We're here all week. If you connect in, put a call out. Someone will come back to you. M0MT.
Roger that, Stu. Got Mount Everest and a McDonald's, huh? What is amazing is if you stand on the top of Mount Everest, you're about the same level a lot of airplanes fly. And that should give you pause. Waiting in the wings, KC4ZEX. Charles in Kentucky. Charles, good morning. Please come on back and say good morning to all. Over.
KC4ZEX, located down here in Kentucky, close to Louisville, but far enough away I don't have to be in the big town. Good morning to everybody. I always try to get in every Sunday morning I can. You asked a question about communications. I've been involved in emergency communications for over 50 years. I've been on the local fire department 47 years, was in police and security work for 25 and a half years, installed a lot of radio equipment over the years, and so I'm still involved with the fire department, kind of give up on most of the rest of it.
KC4ZEX, this is KJ4ZOY. My hat is off to you, sir. You've done far more than I have. What we were wondering about is modern day and age, if we really lost communication or somebody on this net had an emergency, which is how this started, if there was an emergency communication, what are we prepared to do about it? What do we have the capability to do about it? And depending on what was available and, you know, if there was an electromagnetic pulse, how much of our electronics would still be around. But sounds like you were there in some of the glory days when life was a little simpler. Glad you could check in. We're here every week, and in the worldwide WWARG connection, apparently people are always around. I mean, Stuart said that. I didn't quite realize it myself. Anyway, before we move on, it is 3 minutes after the hour. We're in our second hour of the net. Charles, any further comments? Over.
Not much going on here. It's going to be warm and humid again today. Last few days, all we've had is rain, rain, rain off and on. But it's looking a little bit better. At least the sun's shining. It's pretty for a change. No, I have been around a lot of communications over the years. Of course, a lot of stuff now is going digital, a lot of stuff that you can't get into anymore, but there's still a lot of analog stuff out there. I said I've had radio equipment for 50 years pretty much, but we've been into a little bit of everything. I was in emergency management for 34 years. I retired from my work about 4 years ago, and don't have near as much involvement as I used to. Still secretary of the local fire department. I've been secretary for 41 out of 47 years, so I'm still quite involved in the communications and the actual getting out there and doing part of it anyway. So we'll get off here and let you move on. KC4ZEX.
Bravo, Charles. I think you'll find a number of retirees in this group, and then, you know, there's the young guys who are in their 40s. Good to talk with you. Look forward to being on every week, and if there's anything we can do, let us know. For what it's worth, anybody can reach me at KJ4ZOY at either gmail.com or ARRL.net, and I'm on QRZ. I don't want to be call myself a wizard because I'm not. Charles, when I was in school, we learned all about vacuum tubes, and darn, everything made tremendous sense. But I finally got around to taking the amateur extra exam a year or so back, and had to learn about solid state stuff. And I decided I learned enough for the exam. Maybe I'm too old and the world should pass me by. We'll see. Maybe it's already happened. But I better move on. So are there any more check-ins for the Worldwide WRAG 2 Amateur Radio Net? This is KJ4ZOY. It's August 4th, 6 minutes after the hour. Over. I hear a lot of quiet air. Well, let me do it this way. It's last call, last call, last call. for the Worldwide Rag 2 Amateur Radio Net, Sunday, August 4th, version, 7 minutes after the hour. This is Steve, Kilo Juliet 4, Zulu Oscar Yankee. Any last calls? Last shot to get in. Please come now. You guys, the silence is my message. I want to wish everybody a great week. Enjoy what's left of the Olympics. Watch the amazing people if you can. Everybody have a healthy and happy week, prosperous even. But now it's time on behalf of the Worldwide Rag 2 Amateur Radio Net, and I'll put the log on our Facebook page, but it's time to return all these frequencies to regular amateur service. This is Kilo Juliet 4, Zulu Oscar Yankee, out.